Greetings, flesh creatures. It is I, Megatron. On behalf of TFYLP, I want to congratulate you for listening to the most refined collected podcast on this miserable little planet Earth. Yes. Here you'll find knowledgeable fans discussing every aspect of Transformers and beyond. Now, enjoy the show while I continue my path to complete conquest of all of you miserable biological entities. Predacons, terrorize!
Hi, welcome to TFYLP, episode 599. We are live tonight. It is Tuesday, October 15th. I'm Lucas. I am joined tonight by Paul.
Hello.
And Rob.
Konnichiwa.
And my friend Optimist over here in the other frame, because we don't have someone else. Phil is busy tonight or something, or on vacation. I don't know.
What?
So I actually had to do a special Tuesday night broadcast because I'm going on vacation as well here for the next couple days. So
Nice.
But the reason that we're having this episode is because Rob just got back from vacation, and we figured that we would talk about it.
Yeah, so, finally the Transformer collector's bucket list, we finally got to Japan. And so, yeah, I had a great time. We had a full 7 full days there, not including the day we got there and the day we left. So 7 full days in Japan. We stayed, I think it was 3 nights in Kyoto, and then 2 nights in the Shinjuku district, and then 3 nights in Asakusa district. But every day, like, we would get trains and go to different spots of the cities and stuff, and check them out. So, we took in a lot of culture stuff, but obviously we took in a lot of nerd stuff as well. And there's something that's kind of in the middle. If anybody does go to Japan, in Kyoto, there's a show called Gear, and I highly recommend it. It's a nonverbal show, so you don't need to speak Japanese to enjoy it. It was just, I don't know, it was really cool. It was very unique. It's a story about a toy factory ran by robots that in the past they used to make dolls, apparently, and then all of a sudden they find one of the old dolls and it comes to life and shenanigans ensue. But I don't know, it was really cool, and it was funny and nerdy, and so kind of that a nice mixture of the reasons we were there. So yeah, should we go over the spoils, or should we just talk in general about it? Or y'all have questions?
I guess just kind of starting off, right, is because I know, like, we've all talked about, like, oh, we really should go to Japan, right? Like, I think that we all had this conversation a year or two ago, right? And I think that several people in the cast are like, oh, hey, like, wouldn't it be cool if we did this, right? And, Paul and I said that, and then Rob, apparently you decided to just go ahead and book your trip. So what made you decide to go during, like, October? Was that, like, did you kind of plan out and say, oh, well, this is the best time of year, like,
fall
weather-wise in Japan, or fall break, or...
Fall break for the kid. That's, like, the reason we finally did it is, all 3 of us, me, my wife, and Lucy, like, we all wanted to go to Japan, right? Like, right. Lucy's she's turning into a huge weeb. She watches all kinds of anime, and reading manga, and she loves all of it. So, she's really into it. And of course, me and Amanda are both just like, I want to go for toy robots and, just cool crap. And Amanda wants to go for cool crap. So we did. It's one of those we've been talking about forever. Like, oh, one day we should go to Japan. One day we should go to Japan. Right. And the past few years, we've really taken a focus on making sure we take our vacations while we're still here to do it, right? While we can still walk. That's Yoshi pawing me on the face because he wants attention, but he's being gentle. But so finally, it was like last year. It was like, oh, we got to stop talking about it. I was like, 2024, we're doing it. we're gonna make it happen. So I'm like, okay, cool, we committed to it, right? And then it's like early in 2023, and it's like we have to do it. We have to do it. Like, so when did we buy our tickets? Oh no, yeah, we knew we didn't want to go spring break. Um, we decided we kind of would do fall break because we figured the weather would be nicer. Um, Japan gets pretty hot in the summer. Go when you can go, right? Um, but for the breaks, fall kind of seemed like the best fit for us. So yeah, we didn't finally buy plane tickets until June. Um, but yeah, we mostly aligned it around fall break. We took a few extra days of school just because like you don't make a flight that long and not stay for a while. So she missed a few extra days of school, but not much. The first thing, like for anybody who wants to go, is just buy plane tickets and buy hotels. Buy your plane tickets first, and then from there figure out where the hotels are, that you want to stay. I do recommend seeing at least a couple of the cities. We took 2 different hotels in Tokyo. I don't think that's necessary because the trains will get you everywhere within Tokyo. I mean, but we stayed at the Godzilla Hotel when we were in Shinjuku, and like honestly, it's really expensive. It was like almost $500 a night for a room with 3 beds, 3 twin beds. That's a challenge if you're going as a family. It's hard to find rooms that seat 3. Like if you're a single or a couple, it's a little easier, or then it's like 5 people, and I think they have hotels that like you share with people as well. Like you can get pretty cheap, especially if you're flying solo. There's a lot more, but for 3, it was pretty tough for us. So we didn't want to stay a bunch of nights there, but we wanted to stay there some and like check it out. And I live near Nashville. That's the closest thing to a big city near me, right? Which has no public transportation. So when we've been to Chicago, it's like, man, Chicago is huge. And they got trains and, buses and stuff. And like you can get around, and that's pretty cool. And so then we go in there and we're in Kyoto, and I'm like, holy crap, this is so much larger. And the buses are really reliable. There's tons of them. And then it's we do that for a few days, and I'm just like, man, and it's like, oh well, all the buildings have multiple floors here, and all that, which not near as much of in America. And then we go to Tokyo, and not only just Tokyo, we go to Shinjuku, which is like the red light district, and we're just immediately overwhelmed because like the train station there is one of the largest in Tokyo. And you come out and it's like the big electronic billboards. It's late at night and there's still like a billion people there. And it's just flashy and loud. And you're like, oh, you can see the Godzilla Hotel like pretty shortly after you get out of the station. It's like down the main strip. You see the big Godzilla head up there, which you can't visit anymore. You can't get out there on the plaza. They've shut it down. But it's and it was just overwhelming. It's like, holy crap, this is what an actual city is like. But like there's bus in Kyoto, we used buses a lot to get around. In Tokyo, we use trains a lot to get around. Like there are buses in Tokyo, but we never used them. But the trains, man, they get you everywhere. And if you're like me and, from hick area that doesn't have public transportation, like it's a lot to take in. It's not that it's difficult or anything. It's just, it's overwhelming if it's all completely new to you. And they have, they have their own way they do buses and trains and stuff. Like but it was nice because like towards the end of the trip, like we saw some other first timers getting there that were confused by stuff, and they're like, they would see us and be like, oh, they speak English, and they'd be like, hey, what's up? And I was able to help them out a little bit. So it's like, it's not like I'm an expert by any means, but it's like there was this one older couple from New York, and he gets on the bus and he's like trying to pay, and the guy's like, no, and I was like, you pay when you get off. He's like, oh. He's like, I've never seen that. I'm like, yeah, you pay when you leave. So, just simple stuff like that, just mostly you just follow the crowd and you can kind of figure it out. But they use they call it an IC card. You use that a lot for your public transportation, but you have to load it up with yen. You can't load it up with a credit card. So you got to go find an ATM to get yen out to put it on your card. And if you lose that IC card, poof, like Lucy did, that money is gone. Because it's just a card with money on it. It's not tied to you. And the card costs 500 yen. It's a deposit. If you turn in the card, they'll give you the 500 yen back. But 500 yen's like 40 cents, or sorry, no,
It's
four,
$5,
three
isn't it?
bucks, $3 or $4.
Or yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. The exchange rate's a
something like
little
that.
bit worse for them now, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
So
like, how many people speak English in when you go to like Tokyo and all that?
a
Like,
lot.
were you able to kind of get around and
Oh,
they could
totally.
tell? Obviously, I'm sure they could tell you were Americans, right? So,
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm a giant over there. Like I'm a tall for an American. Over
right,
there, I'm like a towering beast. Like we're on the buses or the trains, and like if I stand up, like the hooks, like I'm above the railing that the handholds are on. Like my head's above that. My head's hitting the signs. And while everybody else is like down under the hooks, so I stand out enough in American crowds to really stand out in
right,
Japanese crowds. Um,
right.
but I mean, like we were in touristy areas. We didn't go to like rural towns,
Yeah,
and so everyone in those areas is used to dealing with tourists, and they speak enough English for your
right.
transactional type stuff that you're doing. The only place that you're talking that you need to speak of more complex, and that's going to be your hotel. And all the hotel staff spoke good English. That
Yeah.
and we stayed at 3 different hotels and had multiple people we talked to each time, and they all spoke, plenty good English. They weren't perfect, but it was totally fine. Like like we had one of them set up luggage shipping. That's a thing over there. Totally do that. So like we got to our first hotel in Kyoto, and then we had our bigger luggage shipped to our final hotel because we didn't need it at the middle hotel. Because it was like the souvenir luggage, really, is what it was. That's the only reason we brought
Uh,
the big luggage. Um, yeah, so you just pack a few days, but highly recommend that because dragging that big luggage through trains and buses, and they really don't
right.
want you to have it on buses because the buses are packed and it's hard to deal with it. On the trains, I mean, like no one says anything, no one's going to say anything. You're not even going to get weird stares. You're just going to feel bad because especially if it's packed, and trying to get big luggage through the trains on rush hour is probably impossible. If you've never seen it, go look at some YouTube videos of the Japanese trains during rush hour, and you can find videos of like the staff shoving people into the train to try to get the doors to close. And like that's literally how packed they get. We didn't have anybody shoving like that, but there were times where we were on the bus or on the train. It's like, oh, this train is full. And then you get to the stop and no one gets off and more people get on. And you don't understand how that's working. All sense of personal space immediately gone, you know.
Right.
So like if you're carrying around 2-3 huge two big pieces of luggage and a backpack, like you feel like a jerk. Um, the only big cultural difference, like just being out and about, is that the trains are pretty quiet. Like there's announcements on all of them that's like, hey, silence your phones, don't have notifications, and like nobody, like people are talking. Like it's not like so like, oh, you're not allowed to speak or anything weird like that. But people are speaking in hushed tones. No one's like loudly yammering on their phone, being loud. If you're playing games, they got their earbuds in, So like, it was nice as somebody that I've gotten sensitive to sound, like big loud noises a lot. That stuff, it just stresses me out for whatever reason. So like, I don't know, that was really
Right.
calming and nice. And it's like, oh, Japanese people are really good about lines or whatever. I mean, some are, some aren't. There are some people that don't line up good at the train station. There's some people that do. You're supposed to walk on the left side of the road. A lot of times people do, some people don't, so like, I don't know, a lot of things that just some people had said like, oh, you have to do it this way. It's like, no, you don't. I mean, you should,
Right.
right? Do what everybody else is doing, but like they're people, they're not perfect, whatever.
Well, yeah, because that's one thing. Like, I know I am not a huge fan of crowds, and I feel like I've gotten less so the older I've gotten, and so that's why I wonder, being in that environment, but if it being more quiet, if that kind of takes some of the edge off.
Like
Um,
if you don't want the crowded train, just don't go during rush hour, which is I think like 5 to 7, something like that.
right, right,
Like
right,
just
right.
plan to be eating dinner somewhere. The only near or in Asakusa, I think I'm saying that right. Real near our hotel was the Senseijo Temple, and it's like this. There's actually two temples, one in the north, and then there's another smaller one in the south. And
Mm-hmm.
there's like a strip of shopping there. It's like an outdoor market type of thing, kinda ish. I mean, it's buildings, but that area was really crowded going through it. And it was okay when we went north through it and then visited. Then when we came back south through it to see like the other side of the street, it was really packed, and like I did not enjoy that. But
Right.
like that was the only time that like the people crowds, other than one or two train rides, was really notable. I
Right.
mean, yeah, we never had the places to ourselves, of course. Um, and the shops over there, because Tokyo's much older than America, right? Um, and everybody knows, oh, Tokyo's a huge city, and it's really like a whole bunch of cities shoved together. That still doesn't prepare you for how large that city is. And get in, everything's multi-tiered, and like people will buy a shop, and plenty of the toy shops do this, where it's like they get just some corner of a building, and like you're in there, and like I can touch the walls all the way around if I spun around. And then they have this like narrow little tiny staircase to go to the second floor and the third floor and the fourth floor, and that's how they run their shop. And they've carved out some tiny little corner of a building. Nothing is, on the one hand, like the roads are blocked out pretty well. Like it's really easy to get around and walk the streets. Like you're not going to get lost. But then when you get to the building where your store is, that can be a challenge sometimes because stuff may not be labeled well, if at all. Like we ate at a ramen place that we had a guide for the first day for a few hours that he recommended. It's literally on Google Maps called Unnamed Ramen Place. And it's down some stairs under a building in a concrete basement that like totally was not made to be a store, right?
Right.
And the bathroom you feel like you're going to get murdered going to, because it's like down this narrow concrete hallway and you get in there. And then of course there's like a toilet there that probably costs $4,000 in America. The toilets in Japan are awesome, by the way, just getting that out of the way. Like I'm seriously thinking about buying one. They're so good. But it's like, there's no signs for that building. So sometimes trying to find the first Mandarake we went to in Kyoto, it's like inside a department store looking area and like way tucked off in the back. And then you get back there and there's like this huge area, but it's like you learn to start looking for floor signs, and because you'll go into a building and there'll be 8 to 10 floors in it. And so you got to get the map and try to figure out where your store is, but it's not written in English. So that's when you get out Google Lens to translate the sign for you, to try to figure out which one of these sounds like it's the toy store, right? Or sometimes, because again, a lot of them, each floor isn't big. It's just like room for the stairs or just the elevator or just the escalator. So you just get up there and you just walk the whole floor and then go up to the next, walk the whole floor and see what you see. So like, it's just that very first one we went to was big spread out floors, but that was not common at all.
Well, that's why I feel like your experience is probably so much different than if you went, whatever, 10 years ago, right? Where you might feel like you want a guide or something. But, now with between all the different stuff on your phone and Google Maps and, Google Lens and whatever to translate some of the kind of stuff that you don't feel quite as bad. And I think Tokyo, like, it's pretty safe there too, right? In Japan, like, there's not a lot of issues with like street crime, because like I know that's one issue that, like, I've been to India before, and you like it's very crowded, but you really have to watch yourself because like you are a target, right? Because like they know you have money, and so whereas like I don't think in Japan you have to worry about that quite as much.
No, and like that's reflected in the way all the shops are set up. So like, I think there was only one store that I ever opened a door, because most of the shops they have their front doors wide open the entire time. Like 7-Eleven and Family Marts, they have like electronic doors. I guess there's some places where you push a button and then the door slides open, but the vast majority of the places just have the front doors wide open, and like their product is spilling out into the street, and the cash register is in the back, and that's where the employee is. Usually it's like the one person running the shop, and like obviously they're not concerned about theft. In America, the only time I can think that I see stuff like out in front of a store is when it's like the ultra discount bin, or it's like McKay's and it's like free books. Like people don't really put product out there that they care about. In Japan, that was the common, was stuff is out on the street. At least the areas we went to, but we went to a lot of areas.
Right. So for for your trip specifically, like, and if you're doing a family trip, like, how much do you devote to looking for toys versus doing other
The cultural
touristy
stuff.
stuff? Like, did you have to like do a negotiation, with Amanda to or with the wife or
No,
whatever to be like, all right, do you mind if I, or like, did her and your daughter kind of go off somewhere else and while you were like going hunting for toys?
no, we stayed together the whole time. But like, I wanted to do the cultural stuff as well. Like
Right.
it was probably 50-50, because most times the cultural stuff isn't really with the nerdy toy stuff. That being said, there are shrines and temples everywhere in Japan. They're in the middle of the cities. And, one of the things we'd read when prepping for this, they're like, you can very easily get shrine and templed out. They all start looking the same, so they're
Right.
like, try to pick special ones and, and mix it up. So like if you wanted to, you could have worked in more, but, we had some days it's like, oh, we're got to travel a little further and there's cultural stuff there. And that's all we did that day was cultural stuff. But then we had the same
Mm-hmm.
for toy stuff some days, or nerdy stuff, or shopping days, where we just stayed there and shopped and, found somewhere to eat and whatever. Like I felt I could have prepped for it better. I toy hunted by going to Google Maps, going to the area of the town we're going to be in and searching for toys and collectibles. Those are usually the two words that would find shops that might be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of hobby shops, or a decent amount of hobby shops as well. And what I learned is, for most stores, my experience won't be your experience, because a lot of stuff just sells retail new stuff. And the truth is, I glance right over that stuff because that doesn't interest me. So a lot of them might have, like, it might be a hobby store, but they sell mostly new stuff, right? So they might have a Transformer area in there, but I don't care because it's like legacy stuff, right? I want to see vintage things. But Transformers are also like a footnote in Japan. Anime is what's really huge over there. There's
Right.
so many anime stores we walked into that all look the same to me, but Lucy would go and spend a lot of time in them, and we went to Akihabara, which is an area that's it's known as like Otaku Central. And so at some point it's like, Lucy, you just spent 20 minutes in this anime store. We have literally 10 other stores that I found on Google Maps alone that we're going to go past, that you're going to want to go in. You can't spend 20 minutes in each of these stores. You got to learn to laser focus it. So like most places, if they had Transformers, I could find them pretty quickly. And it's like, there's maybe one or two shelves of them, if that. A couple places had a little more, some places had a little less. They might only have like just a handful here on the side, so it's really all over the map. But like the main things you have to hit is obviously every Mandarake you can find. The only ones you need to skip are like, there were two places where there's two Mandarakes close by. And what you'll find out is one of them is the main store, and the other one is like a very specialized store. One time the other one was like, I think it was media, like books and TV and DVDs and stuff. And another time the other one was just vinyl figures. And so that one, at least, I liked looking through the vinyl figures, but there wasn't Transformer stuff there. But other than that, like Mandarake is the big one, and that's very easy to find.
Mm-hmm.
And they always have cool Transformer stuff. In Kyoto, the prices were much better. Some of the places in Tokyo, once I started seeing like some of the cooler, rare Japanese only things like Metro Titan, or Big Powered, or I don't know, some other things, like they were eBay prices. So, it's like not that special at that point. It's still
Right.
cool to see all that stuff on a shelf. And like I remember I found a loose Double Clouder and a loose Ranger together at the I think it's the Mandarake in Shibuya. But like Ranger had no parts, and Double Clouder only had one of his masters and didn't have any of his other parts. And the prices were just, I was like, those prices are stupid. Like they're not even, they're not even complete, and you're never going to find those loose parts. Right.
Right.
So if you buy it in that shape, that's what you need to be happy with. And it was just like, I saw them and I was excited, and then I saw the yen price. And I was like, oh, never mind. But again, like the first Mandarake I saw had great prices, and then Nakano Broadway is like the next main place you have to stop because it's like a shopping mall, but at least half of that place is Mandarake. Like they just have so many specialized stores that they bought in that shop. Their prices were good. I bought a couple of things there. And then, yeah, Mandarake and Nakano Broadway are like the best stuff because all the other shops in Nakano Broadway, other than the basement, which is grocery, almost all the other shops are nerds things, various vintage toys of some sort. And, lots of them might have a few Transformers hidden in the back. Like I found one store that it was all like, as you said the other day, Paul, Keshi. It was all like rubber little toys like that. And I was like, I bet there's decoys in here somewhere, and
you can spend all day looking through those caches to find some of that stuff.
Yeah.
And that's next time I go, like I need to find that place and I want to spend the time to look through there.
Yeah. Well, so I found several. They had a red set of a bunch of them for $100 and a blue set of a bunch of them for $100. I don't know if they were complete sets or not. I didn't count them. And like I think $100 for those sets is probably a reasonable price because good luck collecting that crap on your own.
Well, I don't think those were the decoys. I think those were the milk
gotcha.
chocolate, the milk caramel ones, which are
really?
very similar, but they're slightly they're different molds and they're a different size. So they're actually more exotic than just
really.
You should have just bought them.
I mean, I thought about there were definitely times it's like I can fit that in my suitcase. It doesn't take a lot of room. I could buy this and probably sell it at TFCon in a couple weeks, but I'm not there for that. I thought about some like buying, it's like, man, I could buy this and maybe like Peter or Paul or Alan or, somebody that buys the eclectic shit, like may be interested in it and I can, pass on the savings, to my friends. But they had a few other
definitely is some
too.
guys, I think, at TFCon that do that they're from Japan, or like I know I think
Mark
Richard, one of his friends, that he's a dealer from local to me or whatever. He'll go out to TFCon, but like his buddy like lives in Japan and will get a bunch of stuff like that and then ship it over and he'll sell it at TFCon. Cause like, yeah, like for us, all of that kind of stuff is rare. Like over there, it might be more plentiful. I'm sure there's plenty the opposite of stuff.
It was still plenty rare over there. Like it's not like I went over there and was just drowning in vintage G1 Transformers. Like not at all. Like I didn't see doubles of stuff. The stuff I saw, I found one of.
Right.
It's and then again, that's why sometimes the prices were still just like eBay prices, and it's like, well, that made me sad.
Right.
Yeah, Mandarake's, Nakano Broadway. After that is it's a store called Jungle, and that's a secondhand Transformer store. There's two of them in Akihabara. There's another shopping mall kind of like Nakano Broadway in Akihabara called Radio Kakan. I don't know how you pronounce it. And there's a Jungle in there, and there's a standalone Jungle store also in Akihabara. And so both of those are worth popping into. There's also a place, it took me a while to find the name. I could not figure out the name of this place, but it finally did. It's called A-Stop. And it's like, if you know what the toy mall is in Kentucky, it's kind of like that. They sell cubes, and you can rent out the cube as like a dealer and put your own stuff in there. And so, I mean, you may go there and there's nothing.
Was that in the tall building?
It was in Radio Kakan, and they had a standalone place.
Is that is Radio Con a multi-story thing, like right off the train from Akihabara?
It's right in the center of Akihabara, or right there near the center.
I think it's the same building that I'm.
It probably is. I mean, it's several floors of nerd stuff.
Yeah. Escalator in the middle, or an elevator in the middle, or
escalator
something?
in the middle. Yeah. Like Jungle and A-Stop, I think we're on the same floor in there. But yeah, so like you may go and A-Stop has no Transformers at all. Because like the big standalone one, I couldn't find any Transformers when I was there. But the one in Radio, I found, I think, 2 cubes that had some Transformers in it, of various ages too. Like, it was a spread because it's some dude's just renting out the cube and probably has his extras that he's getting rid of. And Jungle, it's a secondhand toy store. So who knows what you'll find. I think Mandarake is such a huge enterprise that they make sure every store has some Transformers, right? They probably spread that crap out. And I suspect it's the more popular ones where the prices were more gouged. But yeah, and like I don't know how they price or how they decide to price things. But I took advantage of it when it seemed advantageous. But you see a lot of cool stuff. I would have liked to have seen more like Diaclone and Machine Robo stuff. It's not like I didn't see any by any means. I saw some. I thought I would have saw more. But that stuff's old even over there. And
Right.
there's probably some that I saw and missed. I was probably in the space. Like there's another store I would recommend that's like I think it's on the north side of Akihabara. They're closed on Thursdays. So like the first time we went there, it wasn't there. And our last day, we had nothing planned purposefully. That way we could hit up anything around. I was like, I want to go to that. It's called Toys Golden Age. And I liked that shop. They had an eclectic assortment of Transformers, including Terra Rock from Rock Lords and boxed. But I didn't want to pay what he wanted for it boxed. And also, like, that's a really boring one to me. Like, I don't really care about that figure that much. Like, if it had been somebody more interesting, I might have gone for it. But like, it's there. You wouldn't expect it to be there in that store, but it is. So, but like, I really like that little store, and I was glad we swung out for it on the last day. It was literally right next to where we came up out of the subway, though, or the train station. So like, it wasn't a far walk. It wasn't that far out of the way.
That's cool.
So, was it the Japanese box of that Rock Lord?
Yeah. It was like the Machine Robo release.
So I'd love to see what that even looks like.
It was definitely in the 18,000 photos I posted somewhere.
Yeah, that I meticulously combed through.
Right.
All day. I wasn't in front of my computer.
Right. See, this is why I had you on, Rob, because instead of looking at all of the photos that you posted, I was like, I'm just going to have Rob on to talk about it instead. I don't have time to look through all these posts.
Well, and like, I got to a point where I also I kind of stopped taking photos at some point, Right. I mean, I still, every now and again, it would just kick in. I'd be like, oh, that's cool. I should take a photo of that. Here's some more Transformer stuff. But like a lot of stores, again, they had just like retail or more modern stuff, and it's just in one ear and out the other. I just immediately forgot about it. And if you asked me, I'd probably be like, there were no Transformers there, and I'm probably wrong, right? Just because it's just not on my radar.
I mean, I feel like too, we had a show a couple weeks ago about some of the new Takara stuff, and they're branching out a little bit again, but for the longest time, for like several years, it's like the same stuff they released was the same stuff in the US. So it's like, well, who cares? Like,
it's not interesting.
Like they put a sticker on in Japanese, and that's about it, right? So the box is a little bit different, but so yeah, like, but they are starting to split off a few things again, but.
Well, I think I mean, this is not the discussion, but like the brand unity has not been great for Japan.
Yeah.
If
it used to be better.
Well, I got to imagine that they sold a lot more product in general because of so much stuff getting imported to America. And this probably cut the legs out of their sales a little bit. I mean, how could it not? Suddenly people didn't have to import Masterpiece toys. They could just get them from many U.S. retailers for a better price. Like the same price it would be in Japan. You could get it in America or less and get it shipped to you from like Amazon or something. So, now with them, I have to imagine like it's in Takara Tomi's best interest to deviate as much as they, to a certain extent. It helps because people will double dip.
And there's not, as far as I'm aware, like big box stores like we have in America. Like there's not like
there are though.
There are? Are they somewhere like
I was going to ask you if you went to a Bic camera.
Mm-mm.
And why would you as an American? Like Bic camera? That sounds like why would I go there? But I had a guide when I went that took the first night that we met in a big plaza in Tokyo somewhere. He's like, oh, we're going to go into this Bic camera. I'm like, oh, I've heard of that, but I don't need a camera. Why are we going into that? It's like Target or Walmart or JCPenney in Japan. It's like 4 giant floors of like big box stuff.
Okay.
And you know those weird commercials that sometimes get posted on YouTube that are like 30 minutes long? Those are actual like video kiosk displays at those stores.
Huh.
And in some of them they have the toys out and they have them like attached with a a cable to the display, so you can like transform the toy and set it back down there.
Oh, neat.
So
Yeah, we
it's
didn't
worth
go into
looking
that.
at, but if you
Yeah.
don't know, why would you go, right? It just seems like a boring place to go, but they do have it's like going to Target but in Japan, and it's all their retail stuff.
Okay, yeah, because I was wondering, I was like, man, if you wanted to collect just mainline Takara in person, not online, like there were some places it's like it looks like this place gets stock and you could probably do, but it's like a specialty stop, you know, it's not like going to Target or Walmart. So yeah, I didn't know if those places existed or not. But you know, and I would note like even at as you know a vintage G1 is what I was mainly, you know, or pre G1 like stuff as I was wanting to go see. Um, like I saw a bunch of cool like Beast Wars stuff, and I took pictures of a lot of that. Like I saw their pterosaur, right? Which, you know, small figure, but it's got those gray limbs, right? And, you know, it's more show accurate. And I was a little tempted by that. You know, I saw Taco Tank. Even in that picture I sent you of the boxed Rock Lord, you can see in the background there's some Japanese Beast Wars stuff on the shelf there. That was at Toys Golden Age. You know, and like I saw Masterpiece stuff around. You know, I never saw like a full spread of it. But, you know, I saw some used, some new, you know, here and there at various stores. I quickly glanced past it, right, because it's, again, not interesting to me. You know, all that stuff is there. I mean, I saw plenty of, like, legacy stuff on shelves here and there. I just couldn't tell you which stores had it because it's just, again, kind of in one ear and out the other. Like, there's a place I found out afterwards called Red Mercury that, like, apparently specializes in modern Transformers and, like, you know, is going to get in all the new waves of stuff. And that was, I think that place, is near the Uno Park, which has a couple of shrines in it. And also that's where the Tokyo National Museum is. So we were up there for that type of stuff. But yeah, but somehow like I searched that area for toys and collectibles and Red Mercury didn't show up in my results. Right. So it's like, I'm sure there's little shops around that I missed. But, you know, a lot of it too is like if you go to the areas like Akihabara and Nakano Broadway and just walk around and go into anything that you think might have some toys, they'll probably have some toys. You know, there's lots of hobby shops that might have some Transformers tucked away. And all the stores, I shouldn't say all the stores, but a lot of the stores are very narrow and clustered. And it's just like floor to ceiling product and stuff like shoved off in the back. Like, you know how you got Quake there in Chicago, Paul? It's like that with smaller aisles everywhere, you know, for like anime and hobby stores and model kits and stuff. And it's like, I know rent there has to be expensive. And I don't know how places with that much stock stay in business. Like I'm just, because I don't see like people buying bags of stuff there, you know, but yeah, it was a wild experience, man. Just, you know, again, yeah, everybody's pretty trustworthy apparently and just squeezed in trying to look around. We did go into a couple of Don Quixotes, also known as donkeys. If you go to Japan, you have to go into one. It is, I read something on Reddit. Somebody said it was something like that. Like it's a combination of like dollar store and Walmart and Adam and Eve shoved into one. Like there's like a, you know, this whole adult only aisle back in there as well that they put like a flimsy curtain on top of. But like, you know, Lucy got to see some stuff. Like she didn't go down that aisle, but you're gonna see it when you, because like I took a picture not of the adult only sign. You can see it, but it's because next to it is Pokemon, and it's just like you're gonna be like Pokemon, and then through the curtain dildos, you know. So it's just welcome to Japan. You know, like I think they're less shy about that type of stuff. You know, they still cordon it off a bit, but it's just like whatever. That's my guess. I don't know. I didn't sit down and talk to anybody about it.
Yeah.
But
So
Don
I
Quixote
guess
has like everything. Like they have purses and luggage and electronics, and like kind of novelty clothing, you know, food but it's all just like, you know, trying to get around and see what kind of wacky stuff you can see.
Well, I guess should we get into the spoils of of your trip? Like, you want to show off
Yeah.
some of this?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, we started in Kyoto, and I think it honestly set my expectations incorrectly because that was probably my favorite stop.
Mhm.
And so there I got, I saw these two guys on the shelf, and they're loose, incomplete. They don't have their bits. Two Rock Lords here. We got Magmar, and here's Magmar's US release. And so you can see like they have the green's different, and he's got the purple accents instead of orange. So I think this is, it's technically subjectively better, but I think it's objectively better. And then Tombstone, which compared here to his US release, he's got these hot pink limbs and accents, which is really eye catching. And
That's cool.
These were like $20 each, which I don't know. I would not pay $20 for a loose Rock Lord without a weapon in the US for your typical, those aren't rare characters.
Right.
But over in Japan I would. And I didn't see them anywhere else, right? I didn't see any other. Well, I think I saw a Slimestone, but Slimestone is the same as his US release. The truth is those are some of the more drastic differences in US and Japan. So it's a good two to find. And then also at that store, I got Overbite here. This was about, it was a little under $50 US. He's boxed complete. The stickers aren't used. He's got all his paperwork.
Oh, that's great.
I bet it had never been removed from box until I took it out. Like the figure had never been pulled out. Because the stickers on it don't look like they have wear. And I was like, and the thing is, like, you can see my image of where I took a picture of that shelf before I bought it. And on top of it was, I think it was Seawing, and it cost this was 7,000 yen, and Seawing was 11,000 yen. I don't know why the difference is so much. But they have like a little sticker sheet at Mandarake that has a bunch of notes on it, but obviously I can't read it, and even that's hard for Google Lens. But when I bought it, he's like, oh, he's like telling me, he's like, oh, it's a little yellowed, and I'm like, okay. Like I can see that clearly. I can see the condition of the box. It's okay. Yeah. No. So that was my first place there. Was like, I really bought the Overbite more as just a souvenir more than anything, because it was just like $50 for a boxed complete Seacon, and I love Seacons as well.
Right.
I have a lot of them. And then the other place I bought stuff was Nakano Broadway, and there I bought Tentakill to go with my Overbite, but he cost about $75, again maybe a little under $75, and he has definitely never been removed from package because he has that plastic strip in front of him and it's still sealed. Like that plastic strip's in the Overbite as well, but the tape is worn off. But this one is still sealed on there, so I know it's never been removed. Sticker's never been applied. Has all the paperwork. The box is in worse condition. It's a little bit more like kind of that mold look kind of stuff on it.
Right.
But I don't know why that one was technically like 50% more. I don't know how they price things. But either way, it was still like $75 for a boxed Seacon. I was pretty down with.
Right.
And then I also got at Nakano, Devil Satan 6. This is
nice.
If you're familiar with GoBots, this is Monstrous. But before he was Monstrous in GoBots, he was Devil Satan 6 and Machine Robo. And the truth is, like, I knew that, Puzzler and Monsters had, Machine Robo releases, but I'd never really thought much about them. So when I first saw it, I was like, what the hell is that? I want it. And so I'm getting on my phone and I figured it out, and I was like, oh, okay, that's I was pretty sure, I was like, that has to be a Machine Robo release, but what is that?
Right.
And that was my most expensive purchase. I think it was around 170 or 180. He's in pretty good condition. Like every GoBots, everything is not perfect. Like there's a little bit of chrome wear on the tips of a couple of them, but it's not excessive by any means. There's not excessive paint wear. He stands up fine. So he's in pretty good shape. And then later on in the trip, I did see a boxed one for $270, which is probably more than I want to spend on it. It's probably a great price on it though. It'd probably be $500 in the US or something like that. I don't know. But it was so cool to see. So yeah, I bought two Rock Lords, a GoBots thing, and then 2 actual Transformers. And I bought these little things. Gotcha machines over there are a huge phenomenon. They're just floors filled with gotcha machines. If you don't know what a gotcha machine is, we have them in the U.S. It's where you put in a quarter and you spin the dial and you get a random little capsule out and it has a little toy in it. They have those, but they're just filled up with stuff. And I got a little alligator being bit by a mouse, just because I wanted to buy one, and me and my wife both thought it was kind of cute and funny. And then I don't know, I like turtles, and so I bought this little turtle thingy that was, like 500 yen or something. Just again,
So
just
like,
a
are the
little
little capsules like? Is the machine filled with the same thing, or is it like random?
It's random. It's all like the same brand, and the picture will show you like, oh, here's the 5 things you could get.
Okay.
And it's like,
yeah.
Like you may have a Transformer one, and maybe it's like little symbols or something.
Right.
Like they're definitely themed, and like there's a Zelda one, but it was like it wasn't actual characters; it was something else. But plenty of them are little figures or little characters. Like that's where a lot of the Transformers Keshi come from. Like there were gotcha machines that those things were in, and they made them in like. It's assumed they came in every color because they've been spotted in up to I think like 9 colors or something. So it's like there's probably 9 full sets out there somewhere. You turn it and you get what you get. But they're real popular over there. Like most of the machines are 300 to 500 yen. There are cheaper machines. I never saw anything more than 500 yen. That doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And totally found, just to get it out of the way, yes, we found the used girls' panties gotcha machines. It turns out they're not actually used because Japan had to make a law making it illegal to sell used girls' panties. So it's now the thing may say used in English, but in the fine print in Japanese, it says, that it's not actually used. It's like, if you can go buy jeans that already are ripped in the knees or whatever, they're made to look like they're used or something. We found them in Nakano Broadway. There was a gotcha store. I wasn't going to go in because I don't care about them. But Lucy went in there and she was just like, "Dad," and I'm like, "What?" And I'm going over and she's like, "We found it." I was like, "Oh God, yeah." Like at first I didn't even realize what it was. It just had like 18 plus on it or whatever. And I was like, "Wait a minute, what are they selling that's restricted?" And I took a little closer look at it. And I was like, "Oh, there they are." And again, we saw another 1 or 2 at least later on. But Japan, and it's in a gotcha place full of other like cute kitty stuff right next to the one with kind of an anime crotch, big and blown up there, for you. So yay.
Well,
I was
gonna say, I feel like those machines, like, you used to have a lot more of those, whatever, like little tchotchke vending machines, and they don't really have those anymore as much in the U.S. Like they do, they're just fewer, farther between.
You might find
I feel
one or
like
two
it's
at a
really
gas
kind of
station.
taken over more of like in the toy section, right? There's a lot of like blind box stuff. Like I feel like that's kind of taken over, and it's a similar price. I think a lot of that blind box stuff is like $3, $5, or whatever kind of thing.
You're absolutely.
Like,
it's the same thing. It's just people that like random stuff. It's just gotcha's still huge over there. The first time I saw it was in the main strip in Kyoto, this gotcha store that's just and I was just like, holy crap, I've never seen so many gotcha machines. And it turns out it's not that uncommon a sight. Like, as I kept visiting, there were lots of smaller gotcha stores too, but yeah, and they're always populated as well. Like they were, I went to sometimes in some of the mandarakes, like there would be aisles there wouldn't be a lot of people in or whatever. And some of the anime stores would be or hobby stores would be kind of empty or whatever. Gotchas always had people in them going around and like going to the coin vendor, or the machine to change out their yen into coins and to break up their 500 yen piece or something. And like, I don't know, it's just real popular over there. Like a lot of the machines would look like they're running empty, or running low. So yeah, it's just this, I don't know, cultural difference over there. They really love it, I guess.
And don't they have a lot of vending machines just in general too? Like,
yes.
More than what we do. Yeah.
Oh yeah, like so our first few days in Kyoto, it was pretty hot. The thing is, like, I was sweating the whole time. but I didn't feel hot. Like if I go to Mexico, I feel hot and then I'm sweating. In Kyoto, I didn't feel hot, but I'm just like, why am I sweating so much? And I mean, like, it's really humid over there. Like
Yeah.
the humidity, the first few days was like in the 90s. I mean, it's humid in Tennessee as well. But so the first thing I had our guy do was like, where can we buy some sweat rags? And you may look like stupid traveler with the sweat rags, but you will also see locals doing the same. They got that handkerchief in their pocket and they're dabbing their head here and there, you know? So it's like, it wasn't completely out of place, but after the first few days, then we were in Tokyo and it rained. Actually, no, what? It rained on us at the end of Kyoto. We went and bought some cheap umbrellas. Like I think the cheapest we ever saw them was like 300 yen. But you know, we found them for 500 yen, and it was like it's about to rain, so you know, we picked them up. Umbrellas are all over the place there. You will see in front of hotels generally have a stack of umbrellas for you to borrow. You know, you are supposed to return them. And then in front of a lot of stores, there's a lot of drop your umbrella off here before you come in, or sleeves that you put your umbrella in so you don't track water all over the store. And I did some Googling about it, and at least according to Reddit, some people think those in front of the store are like take and leave, you know, like take a penny, leave a penny type places. So some people think it's okay to go in, like, especially if it's the clear ones. You see the clear ones all over, and they're junky umbrellas, right? Like some people think, oh, you can just go and take one if you need one and nobody cares. There's some other people that are like, no, you're stealing. That person's going to come out of the store and be like, where the hell's my umbrella? Some people have talked about they've had nice umbrellas that get picked up, you know, and especially since Japan is known for being low in crime. So I you know, and I didn't ask our guide because I didn't know about it at the time, but I'm not sure what the general like consensus of the locals really is like, if you see those in front of stores, and especially if it's the little cheap ones, is it generally take and leave if you want or whatever? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, just go buy a 500 yen umbrella or cheaper and you'll be fine. But yeah, so it started raining and that really cooled the place down. And you know, getting around in the rain is totally fine. You just get your umbrella and you walk. It kind of thinned out a bit and it just really cooled it down. And even the later days then in Tokyo when it wasn't raining, the humidity was down to like the 60s and it was a lot better. You know, that's probably the biggest thing to notice if you go to Japan is get good shoes. Have nice walking shoes. Don't bring some worn out ratty things that no longer have support or padding in them. You'll regret it. We walked 15 to 22,000 steps every day in that range. So like, I mean, unless you're somebody that's just not going to go anywhere, right?
Well, I mean, I feel like that's true of like any city that you go to, right? You just end up walking a lot more than you would otherwise. I don't know, like, yeah, I'm sure it's the same way as you like in Kansas City, that like you're kind of used to driving everywhere, right? So you just don't walk that much. Whereas like you go to a big city or whatever, go on vacation, you just end up just having to walk because if you're taking public transportation and stuff.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, I don't know. It was awesome. There was stuff we didn't get to do that we wanted to do, like a bunch of cultural stuff. We didn't go to Osaka, you know, and there's toy hunting in Osaka. We was hoping that when we went to Himeji, which is, again, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, it's way in the west. It was a pretty long train ride to get over there. We misjudged exactly how long it would take us to get there. And then once we got there, we misjudged how long it would take us to get to the places we wanted to go. We thought they were much closer to the station. One of them is the castle's really close, or pretty close to the station, but we went to Mount Shosha, and that is like 20, 30 minutes away. And it's much bigger than we thought it was as well. So the hope was that on the way back, we would stop in Osaka and I could go to like, there's one that's called Mandarake Grand Chaos. And I was like, oh, that sounds awesome. But we were exhausted by the time, and it was getting later too. And it was just like, we just want to go back to the hotel and grab food, you know? So we want to go back to Osaka and do some toy shopping there. We didn't get to see a geisha show. So we want to do that. And there's like a spot of Kyoto, begins with a G, I think, that like has a lot of that stuff around, and we didn't get to visit that district. Just, again, the day we thought we were going to do it, we ran out of time, you know, and we were exhausted and had already walked 20,000 steps. So it's just like, hey, you know what? There's just stuff to add on the list for next time.
Right.
So, yeah. The flight does suck, but I don't know. It's not that bad. There's a bunch of movies and TV on the plane, right? Bring some books and read. If you're a person that can sleep on the plane, go for it. I can't sleep on a plane. Yeah, it's worth it. It'll be a footnote to you at the end of the trip, right? It's like, oh, there was this long travel day. Like, yeah, you don't care really at the end. You get over it.
Right. So, well, that's cool. It sounds like it was a fantastic trip there. So.
Oh, it totally is. Yeah, no. I'm ready to go. Ready to go back.
Right.
I'm waiting now, especially since I've been with the family. It's like if a Transformer friend is like, hey, I'm thinking of going to
Right.
Tokyo or something, like, want to tag along and split a Airbnb or split a hotel or something like that, and it's like, want a traveling buddy, it's like,
Yeah,
I'm probably
they
pretty
need
down.
TFCon Japan, right?
Right? Yeah.
Well, like you said, how much the hotel costs. If you could get a bunch of people that are like-minded and want to split a room, like you could have a really awesome trip, as long as y'all don't get sick of each other,
Yeah.
Because it's not like there's tons of room in these Japanese apartments, but like you could probably find a decent place like in Tokyo that could sleep like 6,
Yeah.
and it would be cost effective with that many people because
Well, I mean,
you split the cost.
I mean,
better than
there are,
in one room.
like, plane tickets for us, all three of us round trip was like $4,200. So like that's probably not as bad as people would think the flight would be over there. And that, for what's worth, that's the cheapest economy seat that JAL had, and there are other airlines as well. But I'm a very tall person, and I had plenty of leg room in the cheap seats. Like that was my main concern. If I'm having to like sit sideways for 12 hours, that would have really sucked. But no, it was totally fine. I didn't care. And then it's like it's 50 to 100% more to get even premium economy, which just gets you a little more room. But so like, yeah, I mean, I think worst case, you're realistically probably for basic seats looking at like $1,500 to fly over there and back. And I think there are much cheaper options for staying than we took. Like I've searched for hotel prices in Tokyo, and there's a lot of cheap options. Like there's some that to me, they look like you just rent the bed and you're in a shared area with other people. Like that's kind of how it looked to me. And those places were like saying it was like $50 a night,
Yeah, you get to hang out with the used panty crowd if you get that right.
Like that's actually something I really want to do in Japan. No, not the used panty crowd. Sorry.
Oh God.
Let me dovetail. Like I would love to find like a bar that is friendly to gaijin, and that like people that speak English, or like speak a little bit, like just to go and get drunk with locals and like karaoke or something. Like I think that would be really fun, just to meet some people that are there, get inhibitions lowered, and be stupid for an evening. I think that'd be really fun. But I don't know where to go for that, and it's funny, for all like the kind of the more open sexuality stuff that's there, Japan is still pretty conservative, in a lot of ways, and I don't know if they're racist as a whole, but I think they're pretty xenophobic as a whole in a lot of ways. Like there's places that are pretty anti-foreigner, or like they just don't like you. And then of course, it's not like Americans have a good rep worldwide. Like we're definitely way fatter than they are. That was like, and like, myself included in here, I ain't passing judgment here. Like I get over there and it's just like an overweight Japanese person was very rare. And then I get off the plane at Chicago, it's just like, oh man, we are a fat people. We are doing poor here. Like it just hit me, because for a week there I had seen mostly, healthy weight people. But it probably doesn't help our reputation when it's like most Americans they meet are overweight in some way, and we're sweating to hell and we're out of breath because we're going up to see, like we went to Monkey Park, which is like a 20-minute hike up to get to it. It's exhausting. But yeah, I don't know. It's cool. Like if I had to TLDR it, for, hey, I'm thinking of going to Japan, what should I do? It's like, go to every Mandarake, go to Akihabara, stop at every shop you can find along the way. go to Nakano Broadway, walk the entire building. Other than the basement, go to the soft serve at the back. It's awesome and it's cheap. It'll blow your mind, but walk every bit of it, all the rest of the floors. You know, and then like his second tier Jungle, A Stop, and Toys Golden Age. I like that shop. I thought it was a cool shop, and I bet he has cool random stuff there at times. And it's on the way to Akihabara, so like it's not like it's really out of the way. It's just not down at the main strip or whatever, the main center of it. Like you know, those are the high places. And then you know, after that, I just searched for toys and collectibles and tried to find shops that looked like they were still open. There was still one or two places we didn't get to because they were closed when we were there. A couple of them I don't even know when they open. There was a place near that in Asakusa near the Senso Jo Temple that the Google reviews, one of them is like, it has like a 2 out of 5 star reviews for this little like strip mall shop. And one of the ones like, when does this guy even open? And other people was like, the guy here's a real jerk. Like he wouldn't let you look at the stuff. And it's like, if you're under 18, he kicks you out. And I was like, this guy sounds awesome. I got to experience this dude. Right. But we were there at like noon on Friday, and that area is packed at that point, and it still wasn't open. You know, he just had a sign up and said close today, and like who knows what hours he is. I guess he just works if he feels like it. But his picture showed a bunch of Transformers like out in front of his store. There's more modern stuff, but it's just like that dude does toys. You know, I really wanted to see what he had, but you know, maybe next time, right?
Yeah.
So there's just lots of little places, and you know, you see a hobby store, you see an anime store, like it's worth taking 2 minutes to walk through it, you know, because a lot of those places will just have like a little corner with a few things in it, and it might be that cool thing you're looking for or something that you're like, I didn't know that existed. Hey, that's affordable. I want to pick it up. That'll be a cool souvenir, you know. You know, and if you're not there for the anime, it won't take you a long time to just quickly scan the store. Oh, one other cool little story. When I was in Radio Kakan, I was in a store that had no Transformer stuff to speak of. It was all anime stuff, you know, so like it was a nerd store, but no Transformers to speak of. And then the Victory theme song came on the radio, and I was just like nerding out way too hard about that. I was like, it started off, I'm like, wait a minute, I know this. Why do I know this? And then I was like, the Victory, you know. So it was that was fun. And there was some other store. I think it was Mandarake where Hunger from the Transformers theme song or Transformers soundtrack came on, and that was, you know, pretty nerding out about that too, because why would that song come on anywhere ever? But so that was fun, you know. So, yeah. The Victory still blows my mind. I don't know what collection playlist they have. They have the Victory theme song for a store that doesn't even sell Transformers. So, but you know, maybe some days they do. I don't know. These stores have wild inventories.
So Paul, I know that you wanted to do an oof tonight. Was there anything that you wanted to show off yourself that you've gotten recently?
No, but I did. You know, I've been to Japan, but I went a long time ago. I went there in between Age of Extinction and The Last Night.
Was that pre-COVID?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I went to, I think it was Nakano Broadway. Let me see. I went there and I bought one thing that was pretty substantial because I was already going there. And our mutual friend Alan had been there not long before I went, maybe a month. And he, you know, did a picture dump. And I was looking through it because I knew I was going. And he had a picture of something very important to me that I was like, whoa, this picture, dude, where was this? Like, tell me where you took this picture. And he did tell me, and I got there, and I have a friend in Japan that served as kind of a guide and helped me the day that I was like, okay, I got to find this place. This is where I need to go. And he knew exactly where to go. And we stayed in Akihabara. I kind of pulled the wool over on my girlfriend, who's now my wife at the time. I was like, I'll pick the place where we stay. And it was like as close to Akihabara as I could find. And we were there for like a week. We were there for a week, just in that one spot. We only went to Akihabara one night, but I went to the place and they had the thing and I bought it and I still have it.
How long after Alan was there were you there?
A month.
Okay.
So I was like, oh my God, it's there. Like it's out in the open. It exists. I have to go. And it was a lucky draw toy. This is it.
Oh wow, look at that.
Yeah. When I said I wanted to buy it, I had my friend there translating. I was like, just tell them I want to buy it. And they did. And they started laughing. I was like, oh, shit. What does that mean? They're like, oh, no one's really supposed to buy those things, sir. Yeah, I don't know what he told them, but.
Do you remember the price? Oh.
Right there. Woo! Yeah. Not cheap. Not cheap.
Let's see that. Today, that's $1,300 USD. I don't know if the exchange rate was as favorable at the time.
I think it was more back then. I think it was. Yeah. But I used a credit card. Here's the thing I learned about Japanese culture. You don't use credit cards like you do here.
That isn't the case anymore.
Okay. Well, that's...
Not in my experience. Because, like, Alan told me that before I went, too. He was like, hey, this is a cash economy. Yeah. Every, like, retail store we went into totally took credit cards. Like every Mandarake takes credit cards. Even a lot of the small shops take credit cards. 7-Eleven and Family Marts take credit cards. A lot of the
7-Eleven, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
so like the only places where you needed cash were some of the smaller cultural stuff, like the shrines, the temples, or honestly even like the National Museum, because like they're not going to pay your fees. You need to bring yen for those things, and to charge your IC card. Like those things you need yen for, and then maybe if you eat at some of the hole-in-wall restaurants, some of them may be cash only, but even a lot of them took credit card.
Okay, well, it's been about 10 years.
Yeah, like so. It's gotten a lot better. Like, yeah, you need to carry some yen around, but use your credit card as much as you can, and pay in yen. If they give you an option of yen or USD price is usually kind of a ripoff because you're paying their conversion fees instead of what your bank or credit card is going to give you, which is going to be better.
Yeah. When I went, it was like the 7-Eleven was where you could take cash out.
Yeah.
Because the rest of the ATM systems in Japan are like landlocked. They are not you can't just pull out money from your US bank account. So you have to go to at the time you had to go to 7-Eleven to use the international ATM.
That's still what I did.
Okay.
Other than the airport and 7-Eleven, that's where I got all my cash.
Yeah. And I was able to use a credit card to buy like the train tickets, and like certain, like there's a restaurant or two we went to that was kind of tourist trappy, like they obviously took it, but like most other places it was oh sorry, do you have yen or whatever? And so we had to pay that way, it was fine as I wasn't prepared, like I thought it was going to be credit card everything. So if it's like that now, then great.
I mean, maybe I just got lucky in the places I went to. Like, we did make sure, like, before we went in, like, especially for restaurants, but like retail, I never paid cash for any of the retail stops I stopped in. Maybe some of the smaller ones, again, like maybe they did, and I just didn't buy anything, so I didn't notice. But like every restaurant, I would make sure that they took credit card if I needed to pay that way. If I was like, oh, I know I'm low in yen right now, and I don't want to go find an ATM. But again, 7-Elevens are every few blocks, so like you're never that far from an ATM.
Yeah.
But yeah, you definitely don't want to eat food and then be like, I'm a dumb tourist. I promise I'll be back.
Right.
But so yeah, I don't know. Either I've gone to the wrong spots or it's gotten a lot better, or maybe a little of both. Again, I didn't go to Osaka. Maybe Osaka's also might be more cash heavy, but Mandarake is again one of the best places to shop when you're there, and they totally take credit card.
Yeah.
I don't know did you do tax free when you were there? Do you remember?
I don't know.
That's a tip I would give to anybody shopping. Like at Mandarake, you buy your stuff, and if it's over 5,500 yen, you then take it to wherever their tax free section is, and they'll give you the taxes back. And they scan your passport, and so like your purchase is tied to your passport. technically customs is supposed to check to make sure like you're taking that stuff out with you, or else they charge you the tax on it. But like, unless you're buying really expensive stuff, I don't know what that threshold is, but like they do not care. They do not have time for, few hundred or probably even like a couple $1,000s worth of stuff. They're not going to care.
Yeah.
A lot of stores, they will give you the tax free at the register. They just won't charge you tax, and they'll scan your passport as you're checking out. So it's just one transaction.
That sounds that it rings a bell. Like I think I remember doing that. Like
take advantage of that
stuff. So
like they used to apparently like staple receipts to your passport or something. But those days are gone.
Yeah, I think they did because this was a significant purchase.
Yeah,
right?
You would want that to be tax free.
But I ended up I bought a cluster of stuff, like nothing super crazy. Just at the time I was there, the novelty that was out was the pen Optimus Prime. Remember the Sentinel pen? Well, it's like a pen you can actually write with, but it transforms into this pretty at the time very articulated Optimus. So I remember I wasn't expecting to buy one of those, but when I was there, I saw it and I was like, "Oh my god, this is so crazy!" So I bought enough stuff where it was like advantageous to ship it home. I didn't want to, and I was going. This was one half of our trip was Japan. The other half was the Philippines on like a literal like get away from everything on a boat island hopping trip. I didn't want to be carrying around a $1,600 transformer with me on that. So I shipped that stuff home, as scary as that was. But I was able to do it. Like go to the post office and actually pay the money and get it. It was a little clunky, but because I remember there was one question that tripped me up. It was like they were trying to figure out if I had batteries. If there were batteries in it, like flammable stuff. And I was like, what? Like I just couldn't figure out what they needed me to tell them. But ultimately, it worked out. It probably took me like 30 minutes to get it shipped, but it happened.
And it was worth it.
Oh yeah, it was totally worth it. Also, when I was there, I mean, I went to a lot of the same shops you're talking about, but I'm sure there were some that we each went to independently. I mean, it wasn't a toy trip for me. Like I had like one big day of toy stuff, just to get it out of my system, and I was with a woman that wasn't super into doing that, but she understood that was what had to happen at least once. But I would just, after Akihabara, we just went around the city and like, you'd always find a toy shop though, somewhere. You just walk by and be like, well, I got to go in. And I remember when I was there were just like tons of G1s. Every shop had a G1 Scorponok. Like
really?
Just a Japanese G1 Scorponok sitting up in the top somewhere.
I know I saw one of those at I'm pretty sure it was a Mandarake. I only remember the one. I saw a decent amount of like Titan figures, around. Yeah, definitely weren't. It wasn't overflowing with Scorponok's again. At least not the stores I ran into. Yeah.
Well, that was also 10
that's
years
just a
ago,
weird
too,
memory.
Yeah, that's funny though. Just when it rains, it pours Scorponok.
Well, yeah, it's just like everyone at that point in time, every shop had a Scorponok. For some reason, from at various prices too. I think one was like $800, another one was like $300 at a different place. Maybe the quality was different, but it does become a blur after a while. The one thing I remember seeing that I wish I had bought was a Japanese Masterpiece Acid Storm at I think it was the jungle in Akihabara. I saw it, and I didn't understand at the time. I was like, "Oh, that's cool," but it looks just like the U.S. one. But I didn't realize that its numbering was completely different than the U.S. release, and like that's the kind of stuff that I get a boner for now. I wish I would have thought, because that has been a very difficult thing to like get a hold of. Like,
they probably didn't make a ton of them.
They probably didn't because it was a weird. Yeah, it was a weird release, and even in Japan, it was even weirder. So it's just like, well, here's this U.S. thing we're going to import, and like. But it's really like the box is the toy is the same, but the box is different. Actually, the mold might be the Japanese mold, which has like the sharper wings and stuff. But
okay.
Anyways, I wish I had bought that. I saw it right there, and then years later, I'm like, it was haunting me. But other than that, I don't really remember seeing much. But I would like to, like. Full disclosure, we had talked about going to Japan. I want to go to Japan like on an annual basis now. I want to make it part of my I don't know, just a thing I do. Because I feel like traveling over there, it's expensive to get there, and what not, but like if you do it enough times, you start to get good at it, right? Like the things that stop people from going are you've crossed those lines, and it's just another trip, right?
Yeah, like the one thing I would note, like if somebody's like, "Oh, I'm going to go over there to save money," you're an idiot. Like it is much cheaper to pay whatever the cost is at TFCon than to fund a Japan trip. Like it's just not as expensive as I think people may think it is. Like you can do it cheaper than you may think. You know, if you go over there, like it's to experience the awesomeness that is Japan, and it's to have fun toy hunting and seeing, you know, we're over there, rare Japanese stuff is just called our vintage toys, you know?
Right.
But you know, you're not going to be flooded with it, and you're going to have to go to a lot of stores to find stuff, but it's going to be a lot of fun. And, you know, even if you don't buy anything, it's just going to be cool to see. But don't go over there thinking like, oh, I'm going to find Metro Titan for $100 or something, like, because you're not. The people know what they have, you know, like, but again, like some of my stuff I think I bought, it's cheaper than it would be on eBay for sure. Like these two Seacons they're not going to be $50 and $75 on eBay.
Right.
You know, that they're going to be much more than that. But again, you know, I bought them almost again, it's just as souvenirs. And now I'm kind of like, I'm not going to actively hunt them, but if I see the other four boxed at prices I think are reasonable, you know, especially under $100 each for, you know, the for not Snap Trap, other than Snap Trap, like, you know, I'll probably buy it on them. That'll be a fun little thing, side project, you know.
I think all the stores you mentioned, yeah, you got to go to those, but like that's not where you're going to find the really crazy stuff. You know, those are the magnet stores. Those are the ones that
everyone goes to.
Right. So to find the crazy stuff, I mean, I think people keep those secrets close to their belt. But the cities aren't the only place that have toy shops. I mean, they're all over the whole damn island. You know, the whole country. So that's why I want to go there. I want to make it go in there like more common for myself, because then it'll be like, oh yeah, Tokyo, yeah, whatever. But I'm taking a train 5 hours to the mountains or wherever, like to find some other, just to see. Because like I think if you get in the right circles and stuff, you'll start to hear of the legends. You know, like where does the big dealers that like have this stuff regularly, like they know where to go, and they're not telling you where to go because then they can't get the stuff.
Like Artfire goes every year literally to buy stock for TFCon.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
and I remember he went recently and he was just like, I didn't get much. He's like, prices have gotten stupid. And, you know, like there was stuff I saw at some of the Mandarakis. It's like, oh, I could buy that and probably resell it, you know, and make $100 off it, you know, per item. But then there's other stuff. It's like, oh, nope, I could not make anything off of that because, you know, they've priced it at eBay. You know, again, I don't know how they're so it's interesting to me that they're, you know, so all over the place with their pricing, but it's nice when it's to my benefit. But yeah, he's totally got to know like hole in the wall places. He probably has contacts of, you know, friends over there that can find stuff that's in the collectors groups there. You know, like I know, Paul, like you like to swim in some, it's almost like an exclusive clubs on Facebook, you know, in a way of like people that have rare shit that sell stuff to other people that buy rare shit because they know they're not going to waste their goddamn time kicking tires for stuff that's like thousands of dollars. Like when you're dealing with those types of money, you don't want to waste your time. You want somebody that's serious about buying it, you know, that isn't just like, oh, I don't know, can I hide it from my wife? Can I do a payment plan on it? Like you're like, no, we're past that. This is luxury stuff, you know?
Right. 100%. 100%.
And I'm sure that stuff and those communities exist in Japan, even though again, Transformers is less of, I think, a thing over there.
Well, there's some hardcore. There
totally is. Yeah.
There's a bunch of hardcores over there because, I mean, they come to the American shows.
Yeah.
And that's dedication. You know, like, I don't know any U.S. dealers that go to Japanese shows, although I would love to do that. That would be awesome.
Well, I don't think there are Japanese shows, at least not Transformer specific.
Not to the level that we have. I know that like there's people that want that to be a thing, but you know it is just how many if they did let's say Bakan Japan again, which they have in the past. That just didn't become a regular thing. Or TFCon Japan, or SuperCon Transformer thing Japan. How many people? Well, how many people from the U.S. are actually even just going to go to the show? Like 100?
Not many.
Seems not many. But the ones that go are going to have a bitch in time, and it's going to be something to talk about. But even that expo that's going on right now, you didn't go to that, right? The Transformers Expo?
I didn't know it was a thing.
Well, I definitely told you. But that's where the Sentinel Prime was at, and like the Missing Link Sentinel Prime, and the Black Optimus, and the Super Starscream. Are those not on your radar at all?
I have no idea what you're talking about right now.
Okay, well, there was a 40th anniversary Transformers Expo in Tokyo, and it's going on right now.
Oh, man.
And that's where all those exclusives came from. And you missed it, bro.
Man, you missed it, Rob. Jeez.
I mean, we had a great time. You can't do everything, but yeah.
Yeah, you can't.
And especially when like you're preparing and nervous and like wrapping up work on it, and you're not on Facebook much, which is where I get most of my toy news these days. It's really easy to miss stuff, or to even like hear about it quickly and be like, oh, I need to look in that later, and then like totally forget about it.
Well, that's really not even your wheelhouse right now, to be honest.
Yeah.
I kind of like, oh yeah, I bet you didn't even know about this stuff because you're not. Do you even have a Missing Link toy?
Oh yeah, I got that Prime, and I got the Cliff Jumper and Bumblebee ordered. I know I've seen the stuff with Sunstreaker coming out.
Well, this is the first like exclusive or exotic redeco of a Missing Link toy, and it was Sentinel Prime, and it was orange. Anyways,
yes,
there was the big Transformers event in Japan was happening while you were there,
and I didn't even know.
Yeah.
So this is what I mean, like. It's like I learned a lot, and now I know a lot about how to get around. I know what to expect. I know how to get through customs and declarations better now once you land in Japan. But it's like there's still plenty of places. I know there's some stores I missed, and I know there's stuff that I don't know that I missed. It's like, yeah. It's the TF Expo. Was that something that like you could go up and pay a day pass and go check it out and buy exclusives and stuff?
Yeah. Yeah, and they had like tons of prototypes out and stuff, and like big displays and.
Oh man, maybe next time.
Don't let them know about it now. Jeez, Paul.
Well, yeah. Remember, I was like, hey, do you want to meet my buddy that guided my other friend around and guided me around? You're like, I don't know, it wasn't really on your. You already had a plan,
Yeah.
But he would have, clued you in on that.
I mean, it's one of those like, if it had worked out, it would have. But I was so overwhelmed with everything else. It's like trying to meet up with somebody else. I just don't think we could have handled it. Like the stars would have had to align where he's like, oh yeah, I'm actually going to be in Akihabara that day. If you want to, or whatever. But what were the dates on this exhibition? It's hard to find it. Oh wow, just runs. No, it runs until September 29th. It was over then.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So
it went on. You didn't miss
close,
it.
though.
Good. Then don't feel bad about it. I mean, either way, don't feel bad about it. But it was just something kind of cool. That, I mean, all the that would have been something that got all the fans together. But typically, it seems like in Japan they don't have they have their official events. Like the big, like Wonderfest and Winter Festival. And those are more like toy expos, than like Comic-Cons or something. And I haven't been to one, so I'm sort of guessing. But then Takara Tomy will do something like this, which is sort of like a celebration of the history of the brand. But they don't really have like unless it's all super like grassroots and fan run and not super official. Like it doesn't seem like there's any sort of community gathering.
Yeah. But then again, also like it'd be really easy for us to miss. We're not
right.
But if you found out about it and you started making some connections, you start making some friends. It's like, hey, if you see these items, let me know. Like, if there was a Transformer toy show over there, like the stuff over here that we think is like the cheap fun pub stuff, like I bet that stuff would sell pretty quickly over there.
Oh yeah.
Because like they don't have easy access to it. So like the stuff that we're like, oh man, that goes for less than the original coloration of that goes for, on the store shelves, because Funko produced so much stuff, they started producing lots of just things that weren't very popular. Yeah, they all have their fans, but like I bet you could do pretty good with that stuff.
Well, yeah, because it's just not available there.
Yeah, like I did not see BotCon or Club Toys over there. Like, I mean, maybe there was one or two here hiding somewhere. I saw Barbarian at least twice.
What's
And
that?
I think the BotCon Japan exclusive, the Scorponok.
Oh.
Not the sorry, Scorponok was the Double Punch, but Barbarian was the Polar Claw repaint. I saw him at least twice in the box for like, I don't know, he was 1 to 200, but like when the older guy used to come to BotCons and TFCons from Japan, every year he would have a stack of those things to sell, and he would sell them for $100 each. And he would only put out so many a day, and he would sell them all out in like the first like 30 minutes, typically, But it was just like, you see them over there at multiple shops, but the price wasn't anything special,
Right.
So yeah, it's I don't know, it's just cool, man. It's just fun. But don't
Rob,
do it
I
thinking
didn't
you're
know
going to
if
save
you
money.
Had picked up, but I picked up a Japanese release too.
Oh, so we are oofing.
Is that
I thought we were
Japanese release?
No, it's not a Japanese release.
Okay, I was like,
it's a Japanese character. How about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Six piles of junk, right?
I like the window box art of that. Like, I seriously do. Like,
Yeah.
it makes
I think
me
it's cool.
want to like it, but then I
Right.
see the figure and I'm like, that thing is.
I don't know. I mean, one thing. So, like, I got some of the Fans Project ones, right, when they were like clearancing them out at TFCon like years ago, right? And I ended up like flipping them. I don't think I got the whole.
I don't
think
love it.
I ended up getting the whole set or whatever, right? But like, I don't know. It didn't really feel that fun. Like, I actually kind of feel like this is gonna actually be somewhat fun. Like, I mean, it's just like a stupid little thing to put together, right?
You're going to be able to put that together, the whole thing, quicker than I could transform one of those bots.
Right.
And that thing is like really pointy too. Like, and I'm not saying, it should have rounded edges for adults. I'm just saying it's kind of like some older Make Toy stuff. Like, it hurts your fingers by the time you're done with it.
Right. But like, I kind of wish that they would do more box sets like this, of some of those different types of figures or whatever that they had back in the day. Like, I think this would be kind of a neat little thing.
If they had done like a box set for the Combiner Wars, Seacon, and God Neptunes that they did, like, that would be so awesome. I'd love it.
They did. God Neptune was a box set.
Yeah, God Neptune was a box set, Rob.
But it wasn't fancy like that. It was Generation Selects cardboard box.
Yeah, it was like a brown box or whatever.
Okay. Like, I think I got them. They released them in pairs at first, right?
Yeah, that was just the Seacons.
Oh, okay. Like, I mean, I know I got both of them. I just don't remember the packaging on either being like, it's in the garage, right? But I don't remember it being.
Well, it was all Gen Select, so it was just like cardboard box. It was like really bare bones.
Right.
They should do cool stuff like when the club did the Chronicon reissue in the whatever colors. I forget what that was. But they did a really cool box for it. I really like that box.
The question is if we all pull out our God Neptunes now at this point, like, are they going to be all yellowed?
Mine looks dirty. Like, it's not. But wait, maybe I'm thinking of the vintage. I may be thinking of my vintage, and they're like over there.
But I'm just saying, like, I know a lot of the like more recent figures, like, people have kind of shown off for, like, oh crap, like, my figure from like 3 years ago or 5 years ago, whatever, a year ago, like, yellowed, because I had it in whatever storage bin or something, and it got too warm.
Yeah, I mean, I think some shit's just gonna yellow. Like, there's been just too many cases of people that store stuff properly, or don't, they don't enclose it at all, and it's not near sun, and it still yellows. They've had stuff in closets that yellow. I don't know if certain conditions make it more likely. And we've seen stuff beforehand where, like, you can see like the two pieces of the plastic, and they're the same thing, but one of them is super yellowed and the one right next to it isn't.
Right.
It's like the mix is a little different or something, and it just totally changes how it works. So
Yeah.
sometimes that stuff's just going to happen, man. It's the risk we take in this dumb hobby.
Yep, that is true.
So when you go into Japan, Lucas?
That is a great question. We would love to go too. It's just trying to figure out the best time to actually go. So I think we probably will have to go before our kids are out of high school. So here, hopefully in the next few years. So we'll see. But yeah, my kids are kind of the same thing as your daughter, where it's like they're into anime and manga and all that kind of stuff too. So
They're gonna have a good time then.
yeah.
The biggest anime over there, from if I'm using stores as a guide, is One Piece.
Mm-hmm.
There was so much One Piece stuff. I've seen that statue of Luffy, like or whatever it is, like
Right.
almost every anime shop has that figure. And then there's like a couple of like dedicated One Piece stores that have like statues. Some places just have a One Piece section that have like, a big, not a statue you would buy, it's like life size-ish, display type thing. Every anime store though had a notable One Piece section. Like, yeah, there's other really popular stuff too, but that's the one that took the cake. So if you haven't watched all 1,100 episodes and counting of One Piece, you need to catch up. So
Got it. Yeah, no.
they're all on Netflix.
My kid, my youngest kid is definitely into One Piece. So he would definitely be. I'll have to let him know. So now he'll want to go to Japan even more than he already wants to. So.
Well, as a family man, you really only have 3 choices. Spring break, fall break, or summer.
Right.
So which one of those you want it to be? And yeah, the best thing I can tell you, man, is just make yourself buy plane tickets.
Is not fun. Like you were saying about the humidity or whatever, because you're like, whatever.
Fall.
Like I'm used to humidity, and then I've heard it's like real bad. But then they also have the rainy season, and yeah, it's
the
like,
rainy season will be totally fine, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, like you want it to be, the days after it rained were the nicest days.
Right.
So it's a little drab, but I don't know. You're doing so much walking, it's kind of nice to have it be cool outside.
Right. So.
But yeah, man, I'm telling you, if you want to go, my advice is just make yourself buy the plane tickets. Do that. Like, figure out what day you're going, and just like, we're doing it, line in the sand, and go buy the plane tickets, and then go figure out your hotel situation,
Right.
And then after that, once you know you're there, you don't have to plan shit after that. Make a list of stuff.
Just go.
Yeah, like make a list of stuff you want to go to. There is some stuff that like you need to get tickets for, like here and there, but that's really a small part of it. So like Gear in Kyoto, it's a super small, intimate theater. Like I bet there wasn't like 50 seats there, but it's been running for years. But they sell out. Like our show was sold out, and we were just there some random weeknight, So like stuff like that, a couple of things that you may want to buy tickets for ahead of time. We bought tickets for Team Lad Borderlands. So if you're looking through my picture spread, if you saw the ones that's like, what is this art exhibit they're walking through? And there's a big section of those. That's what that was. It's Team Lab Borderlands. That was really cool. You probably need to buy tickets for that. I don't think they sell out necessarily, but you need to schedule when that's happening. But that was it. Everything else we just walked into and did. So it's a much easier trip than you think. It's a lot scarier than it is, but it's like Paul was saying, like you get over that hurdle once, you learn what to do, you realize it's not that scary, and after that it's not a problem. Yeah. So man, just do it.
Well, very cool. Yeah, you're definitely making me want to go with all of your talks of the sightseeing and Troy shopping.
Find a guide. That's the best.
I got a guide. So like the guide we had, we went through a company to find them or whatever.
You hired.
Yeah. And it was really expensive. Like it was like $300 for like 2 or 3 hours. Or was it more than that? Was it like $500 for 3 hours? I just remember it was way more expensive than I thought it should be. But like our guide was awesome for what it's worth. We really liked him. Really friendly. But like when we first met him and we're just talking to him, it's like, oh, how long you been a guide or whatever? And he's just like, He's like, by the way, he's like, this company charges too much for this service. He's like,
Ha!
I'll give you my email when you're done. He's like, if y'all come back and want me to help again, much cheaper. He's like, if you got friends that come over, much cheaper. So, he's kind of, entrepreneuring there, but I mean, we loved hanging out. His name was Itero. And yeah, I'd just give you his Gmail address and be like, he's your dude. At least I don't know if he goes to Tokyo, but he definitely helped us around Kyoto. And then afterwards, he's like, hey, if you have any questions about Tokyo, just let me know. I'm happy to help you out.
Right.
Like, we didn't take him up on that because didn't want to take advantage of him. Plus, we had plenty of crap planned that we wanted to check out, and we were able to figure it out. So, yeah, let me know if you want a guide. I bet he's going to charge a lot less per hour than going through the company does, and he's great.
Oh, I'm sure.
For sure.
I'm sure.
When I was there, I was lucky enough to have my wife had a high school friend that was there that showed us around the first night, and we were tired.
Awesome.
We were tired, and he's like, let's meet up. And we had just gotten to our we were up for 24 hours, and like it was raining, and we were all discombobulated. It was just a miracle we got to the hotel,
Yeah.
And I was like, at first I was like, let's meet up with them tomorrow. But then I was like, no, we're going. We got to do this tonight. And that was the best choice we made because he showed us how to use the train. He got us our train ticket. We went to one of those crazy conveyor belt sushi place. Actually, it wasn't a conveyor belt. It was like it would shoot down
Yes.
the end, and you'd take your thing off. It would retract. Like,
oh.
Yeah, it was crazy.
We went to two different conveyor sushi belt chains that both work differently. One of them had this huge screen that you ordered on, and it had a belt, but the belt only took people's orders, and it would know when to like divert to your table, which had like a little short runway. And then another place had the belt that always run around that like you could just pick up off, and you put your plate in a special chute, and that's how it would ring you up. But if you ordered something on a small tablet, that would come on a different belt directly to you, and that would retract. So those were fun. And like, I don't know if I said food is so cheap over there. So cheap. Like the three of us ate plenty of places. We were always full when we were done. We only actually ate at one buffet though. And it was usually like $20-25 to feed three of us. Like that's, we're equivalent meals would have been $40-50 in America. Oh, when we were talking about vending machines earlier, there's lots of vending machines all around for drinks, especially water. And you get like cold bottle of water for like about 75 cents, and so like those days in Kyoto, we made use of that, whereas in America, that would be like $3,
Right.
to get those.
Right.
So yeah.
Well, very cool.
We already had to figure out the trains though to even get to Kyoto, and we had to figure
Right.
out then the buses to get to our hotel. But we were, like you said, Paul, we were just exhausted at that point. In a span of over 40 hours, I had 1.5 hours of sleep because
Oof.
we had to get up so early to get to our flight, and like I just couldn't fall asleep early, and so I just didn't get a lot of sleep beforehand, and then I can't sleep on trains or planes, so it was rough. So yeah, we got to the hotel, went and found some quick food, and crashed. So,
well, I guess I'm just saying, like having someone that knows the ropes, and this goes with any city, any place
Yeah.
to visit. If you can, and we didn't pay this guy. Like you said, this is we're lucky enough to know this person. So they showed us around the first night, made us feel real good. We were happy. It got us ready for we could wake up the next day and we knew what to do. Like we just need to get on a train and go. And then that day I met up with Hobby Drifter, who is another guy. He's a toy guy from America that lives in Japan now. And he showed me the big camera. He's the one that took me around Akihabara. Took me to a pretty cool place to eat. Took me to Super Potato, which is like...
Super Potato is awesome.
Did you go?
Yes, it is so
Crazy.
Cool. It is it's a retro video games. And
all Japanese too.
Yeah, and it is like, it's another one of those like, it's multiple floors of shacks is how it feels. You're crammed in there. It's all brown for some reason or something. And it's just like wall-to-wall vintage games and systems and stuff. And it's really cool. Yeah, Super Potato is great.
Okay, I'm glad you did find it because that would have been
Oh, yeah.
another sad thing to be like, you missed the awesomest video game store of all time.
Amanda's the one Amanda's the one who knew about that one. Like Amanda did most of like the planning. Like again, I just did Google Maps searches when we were there, and would just be like, oh, we're going to this area, and I would try to find everything there. But yeah, Super Potato was on her list. So yeah,
awesome.
It was great.
Well, I also, luckily, there was one of those Wonderfest or there was some toy expo going when I was there, and another guy from America that I kind of am associated with, met at BotCon, was there. Do you guys remember a customizer named Encline Designs?
I remember the name.
So he was there because he did like some toy work for some Japanese companies. So I ended up meeting up with him. He was eating horse at a place because you can eat horse in Japan. So I took a bite. It was weird. It was really rough. But then he was like, hey, I'm going to meet up with this other Transformer guy that used to work for BotCon on like Thursday or something. You want to come meet up? And I was like, yeah, something to do. Let's go. So we went to this awesome shoju bar and met up with Encline. And who's sitting across the table from this dude? Fucking Hydra.
I knew it. I was like, you're going to say Andrew Hall, aren't you?
Yeah, Hydra. And I'm like, holy shit, dude, do you know my face? Because I know you. Like, I've bought stuff from you. Like, we communicate a lot. He was like, I do recognize you. That's so wild to see you here. And this was like the smokiest, dingiest bar. It was so awesome. Like, it was a Japanese, like, mob bar. Not really, but just like a grimy, but like sort of nice place.
Yeah.
I would have loved to hang out there all night with those guys, but my wife was like, I don't like it here. So we left. And it was fine. Like I got my fill in, and plus it was like again another toy thing. So like she's kind of like, oh, you know these guys from toys, great. Like I don't want this to be the mark of my vacation. But after that we walked to the train station, and under this particular train station, I can't remember where it was, there was like a yakitori bar, and that was super fun.
What's
so yakitori? It was like it's like grill, like yakitori is it's like meat on a stick, like Robata grill.
Is that where
stuff.
You cook it yourself?
No, they cook it for you. Like you get skewers, but they also have what's the octopus thing? Yeah, it's not yakitori. Yakitori is usually chicken, right? It's something similar. Anyways, it was just like a cool place where everyone's just like passing around pitchers of beer, and it was like everyone just got off work or something, and it was before their train, and that was really fun. It was just that's really the working man's culture, you know, like that was.
That sounds kind of like, you know what I was saying, like I want to find a bar and go get drunk and sing bad karaoke, you know, like
that was as close as I
just hang out with the people, you know.
I did get to go do karaoke though one night down in Kawasaki, which is pretty south, like from Tokyo itself. And so again, Hobby Drifter and his wife and I, we got a room and we were singing all these anime intros and stuff. Like I didn't know the words. I was like, is this offensive that I'm like just phonetically singing these words I know? He's like, don't worry, no one will care. I'm like, okay. But
so
it was
a
good time.
Like we saw several karaoke places like that just advertised explicitly karaoke. And later on I Googled about them, and it sounded like some of them, like you get a lot of them are like private rooms. Like it's just you and your friends. So it's not like an open area. So were y'all singing in front of randos?
No, we were in a room.
Okay.
And then you could order beer and food. No, yeah, no one to be, except, well, I mean, Kevin's wife, you know, I was like, I don't want to upset this very cool person. But the interesting thing about in Kawasaki, it's like there's like a bunch of them, a bunch of buildings like down a strip, almost like Vegas, really. It's like all karaoke places. And the thing is, the trains stop at like 11 or something. So if you don't get on that train, you're stuck there.
Yeah.
And you have to stay overnight at the karaoke place, which you can do. You could like just stay up all night until the train starts at 6 a.m. And luckily that did not happen. But
I knew they stopped, but that never. We were usually like around our home base, you know, by like 8 or 9, because everything shopping shuts down at 8. Most shopping doesn't open till noon, and like noon to 8 was the typical hours most places. You know, some might be a little different, but yeah, like restaurants stay open till like maybe 10. You know, like 9 or 10. They'll stay open a little later. Hiro was telling us, because like we were just chatting to him. I was just talking about like how great the public transportation was there. He's like, yeah, he's like, that's why people are drunk all the time. He's like, after work they can go in. He's like, they don't have to worry about driving. You can drink all you want, and then stumble your way onto the train or a bus and get home. It's like
Right.
makes that's kind of like a probably semi-offensive stereotype of drunk Japanese man or something, but Hero volunteered that one. I wasn't fishing for that, but it was funny. We didn't do any drinking.
Well, yeah, you were with your daughter. I mean, you were a family, so it's like.
I mean, that wouldn't stop me. I mean,
well, you aren't going to stay up till 2 in the morning every night.
Right. Oh no.
You got a daughter that's going to wake up. So
yeah, like we tried one place that had some cheap cocktails where we were eating dinner, but honestly, the dinner was pretty mid. It was like probably the least interesting place we ate. But they had cheap cocktails, and we both tried one. It was like $5 each, right? Because again, food's so cheap over there, and the currency exchange is in our favor. So we tried a couple of those, but that was it.
What about sushi? Did you?
So the 2 conveyor belt sushi places, we didn't go to anywhere that was like just sushi. Like I feel we could have done better in food if we'd come better prepared, but we generally were like, okay, what's around us? What has good ratings? What sounds interesting or unique or different? Amanda would sometimes look for Reddit recommendations on stuff to look for. And we had that ramen bar, that hole in the wall that Hiro recommended to us. And then we had some, there was one buffet place we went to that had some sushi. In sushi there, the sushi there you can usually find in the U.S., but a lot of the sushi you eat in the U.S. you cannot find there. The sushi that we saw was generally much more straightforward. Like most of it was sashimi. It's just rice with fish on top or something on top. They might have a couple of rolls, but they're going to be much simpler. They're not going to have crazy tempura deep fried rolls. You're not going to find that with eel sauce and spicy sauce all over it. You're not going to find. I shouldn't say you're not going to find that, but it's not common.
Right.
So you didn't go to the fish market. That's one place you didn't hit.
No, I did not.
Wow. Okay. Got to go back.
Okay, add that to the list.
And this is a friend of mine that travels a lot told me when he goes to Japan, he doesn't go to the hotel the first night. He just goes to the fish market immediately. So he basically has breakfast at the fish market because the day starts there at 2 a.m. with the fish market because they're all going out to the ocean and stuff.
Oh wow!
And then they come back and they bring the stuff. But I went there during the day, and I realized later I was like, oh, we should have come here 3 or 4 hours earlier because it was kind of dead. But the pieces of fish I had in those little shacks on the water ruined me forever. Ruined sushi for me forever.
It's not good. Not as good as it can be.
Never gonna be that good again. It was $3 for the best piece of fish you've ever had in your life.
Right.
And you could just, so if it's $3, you could just keep eating it over and over. I would gorge if I had it to do over again, I would just gorge myself until I needed to go to sleep or couldn't eat anymore. It was just so awesome, and I want to experience that again.
I had wished we had found more hole in the wall interesting places. The only real generic advice Hiro could give is he's if you see a place that's only foreigners eating there, then you might want to move on. It's probably not a great place. You want to see a place that locals are eating. So all the other places we ate out, except that one mid place, had a lot of at least not white dudes eating there. That's really all I can definitively say. The conveyor sushi belts were popular with the locals, I would assume. And there were a couple places right off the strip. There's food advertisement everywhere. And this was, again, it's all cheap, but they take their food and they make a dish and they put it in plastic or whatever, and they put it on display so you can see exactly what you're buying all over the strips. That stuff is out in front of this is here and this is what it costs. Because also a lot of the dishes are all mixes of stuff. It's stuff mixed with rice and noodles, and so it's what's really in this? What is? I like to. Visual appeal is a large part of dinner. So we had a couple of times we just let's go to that little place. It's busy. the food looks cheap. We see a couple of things that look interesting, so we took in some of those. I don't know. We had good experiences. But yeah,
Sure
didn't have anything. The ramen was the most interesting place that we ate at, just because unnamed ramen place.
Right. The hole in the wall in the
Yeah.
basement or whatever. So
Yeah.
well, very cool. It sounds like you had a good time.
When are you
I
going?
know. What's that?
Yeah.
When are you going? Go schedule it. Go talk to your wife.
We'll
Put
have
it on
to
the books.
see. Yep.
Put it on
We'll
the
have to
books.
plan something out for next year. So anyway,
I'll get you settled.
I
going
appreciate
back.
you guys coming on and talking to us about it. It's a lot of fun, and all that. So I know that we're going to be gearing up for TFCon here pretty soon. Are you going to TFCon, Rob?
Yep, I'll be splitting a booth with Christian of the show and Orson of Captured Prey. The three of us. We got 2 tables together. And I think Orson's taking a whole table, and me and Christian are going to split a table.
Yeah.
But we're all going to be there together.
I
We'll have to find
requested
some
to be
hole-in-the-wall
next to you
places.
guys, so we'll see.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
I did, but they didn't. TFCon didn't respond, but like that doesn't mean they didn't see it.
How many tables are you getting?
I just got one, like a putz.
Are you bringing Collecticon stock, I assume, or personal stuff, or both?
I'm bringing stuff to sell.
Okay. Like, I know me, Christian, and Orson at this point, like, we're all just stuff that's cycled out, for one reason or another. So,
well, I was gonna bring one thing, but then a certain guest got cold feet and couldn't make it, so that changes my calculations a little bit. So I will know when I get there what I'm bringing.
yeah. How far a drive is that for you?
Couple of hours.
I feel like it's more than a couple of hours.
I am going to go trick-or-treating with my daughter, and then I will be on the road to...
That's insane.
TFCon. I've done worse, dude. Remember the year I left TFCon at 11 p.m. to drive back?
That sounds familiar, yeah.
Rob, did I tell you my story for TFCon? So I'm actually not taking the day off work on Friday. So Southwest has a direct flight that takes off at 5 a.m. and gets there at 8 a.m.
Saturday?
No, like this is Friday. I'm going Friday. I'm
gonna
going
work?
I am flying into at 5 a.m. I'm getting there. I'm going to the hotel. I'm gonna find a Starbucks or something like that to work at. I'm bringing my work laptop, and I'm gonna be working Friday, and then I'm gonna take my lunch break to help Paul set up. And
well, I'm glad you're coming. I didn't think you were coming this year.
Yeah, we're gonna be roomies.
I wasn't, because it's like, they won't let me take off the first business day, right? Because that's usually our like closing up month end stuff and whatever, right? So I'm like, haha, if I can work remotely, and like, from there. So I told Paul, I was like, well, I'm gonna have to, eat a little bit later on Friday night or whatever. So we'll see, but.
Me and Amanda we're getting a hotel room in Kentucky Wednesday night, because then me and Orson are leaving from Kentucky at like 8 a.m. And it's just like, I did the math, and it's like, there's no way for me to get there at a reasonable hour without doing something stupid, especially because I'd also have to dodge Nashville traffic. And then so me and Orson are there going to make our, like, I don't know, it's 12 hours without stops.
It'll be about the same, I think,
yeah. And then after we do the show, Orson's going to visit up there and like do some vacationing. And he's doing like you, Lucas. He brings his stuff and he'll work from hotels. And then like, in the evenings go around and visit and stuff. I'm going to fly home Sunday and leave all my stuff I don't sell and anything I bought with Orson. And then he'll bring it back to Kentucky. And at some point, we'll be going to Ohio for in-laws or something, and we'll swing by and pick up my stuff from him. But yeah, so I have a very weird way to get there. So it's like, I can't drive myself because I'm not going to be in Kentucky to pick up my car once it's done, So it was like,
right.
So it was like, I was like, man, do I even go, or do I just fly and not bring toys? What to do? And it was just like, ended up this. I was like, because I like road tripping sometimes too. So, and I know it's fun to bring toys to sell. I've gotten to where I really like living at the booth for the weekend. It's fun.
Right.
Yeah, it is. It's nice to just have like a home base, and it's you've been to enough Transformer conventions, and it's just like,
how do I get in voice acting? I don't care.
Right.
Really don't care anymore.
It's just like sort of it's kind of the pinnacle of going to these things. Like suddenly I'm part of the decor, like
Yeah.
I'm something people are used to seeing.
Yeah.
Oops. Wait, I know we're closing up, but I did have one oof I'd like to share.
Bring it on.
I got this today.
What is it?
This is the YOLO Park Starscream, which is non-transformable or whatever. But I've been seeing these. I've been seeing the Megatron and the Optimus, and they look. I see them. People post all the time. Like, God, those do look good.
They're action figures, right? Like they're very posable and stuff. So it doesn't transform, but it's not a statue.
Yeah, I mean, look at this thing. I have him spread eagle here because he's got a stand, and I just thought it was kind of a cool thing. Look at these. This is the pretty awesome blast effects for his chest here, like the missile pods. It looks like MP. It's basically based off the MPs,
right?
To an extent.
At the very first, I thought that's what you were holding up. And
right.
I know.
I was just like, "Are you showing?"
And then
off
I was like,
"Why are you showing off the masterpiece?"
Yeah.
No, it's fuck. I got it.
Does it have a waist swivel unlike the masterpiece?
Right.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah. I mean, you can actually. I mean, you can actually take it out.
Don't break it. Don't break it.
Not breaking it, but like. It's got giant ball joints between the pieces. Like you put it together.
Okay.
It's okay. And there's lots of paint apps on this. I don't know if you can really tell, but like I just texted some of my friends that have these. I was like, "Is this correct? See that brown?
Yeah.
It almost looks like rust.
It looks like a dog is pissed on it.
Yeah, but that's how it comes, I guess. Like that's normal.
Why'd they do that? Who wanted that?
There's even like looking. I don't know if you can see in the knee here. It's like in there. It's like caked in there, kind of.
Yeah.
Like it really looks unsightly, like it's a mistake, but it is just paint.
Is it just so they can sell you the clean version in 6 months?
I don't know. I mean, it's kind of cool. It gives it a weathered look, and there's other parts of it that are clearly weathered, like on the tips, which is, when it's done not as a customized thing, like it can look pretty good. I'm just not used to it. So
yeah, there's plenty of times like I'd agree it can look nice. But I still would always just rather have it clean.
Right.
Ultimately, given my druthers.
Well, it's like me and vintage toys with Kmart price tags on them. I don't want those on them. I don't. Oh, it was only $6. You're like, I know that, asshole. Like, I don't need to see that. All I do is see that price tag and wish it wasn't there.
Yeah, but you don't want to take it off because it might rip the box.
That's the real problem.
I mean, unless you're good with, I think, like lighter fluid, you can get that stuff off without damaging the box. But like I would just live with the Kmart sticker, right?
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm doing right now. But if I send this one piece off to get graded, I'm like they say it doesn't affect the grade. If it's on there,
it affects your grade.
I just hate it. Like to me, one without the price sticker is worth more than the one with it. So. But other people are the other way. They're like, I like to pretend it was cheap once. Come on. All right, we got to do a different discussion.
All right. Well, anyway, thank you guys for joining tonight. Thanks to everyone in the chat, and we will see everyone next week.
Bye-bye.